What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Never Too Early, a YouTube series focused on unconventional talent insights for founders. I'm Lauren Ipson, talent partner at Decibel, and this is my Founder Therapy series. In this series, we will cover early learnings, misconceptions, mistakes, and a whole lot more with folks that have recently taken the leap to start their own venture-backed tech companies or take a step into the CEO seat for the first time. So, with that being said, I am beyond stoked to welcome my guest today, Laura Burkhauser. Laura was formerly running product at X and Rent the Runway before coming over to Descript, where she ultimately just took the step into a CEO seat for the very first time. Okay, Laura, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much, Lauren. I'm excited to be here.
I'm really excited to have you. I can't think of anyone better to discuss this topic in particular. So super excited to jump in. I personally love your content and kind of fun that I'm going to be editing all of this on Descript. So there's so much that goes hand in hand, and I'm excited to just chat with you about it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm also excited to share this on LinkedIn and our other channels.
Yeah, I know. I love it. Okay, cool. So I guess to get started, first and foremost, I would love to just kind of give the viewers an overview on who you are, where you came from, and then if you could just talk to us a little bit about the recent role that you just took on.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's see. I am the CEO of Descript, which is a video editing solution that makes every kind of video. So we do podcasts, we do when you turn your podcast into clips, we do YouTube videos, educational videos. You can edit and publish webinars, all of the different videos that so many of us are feeling incredible pressure to create, whether we're a marketing team or a founder, and we'll talk about that. And I found Descript. I was a customer actually before I worked here. So my background is I was before this I was at Twitter, and that was kind of my first exposure to um, you know seeing the different use cases that people have for social media and really how people are using social media to craft and tell their story and to tell the story of what's happening kind of beyond their role. And then when I left Twitter, I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do next. It was actually like an interesting lull in tech. It was right before ChatGPT came out and was a consumer product. And so when I left Twitter, I was like, I don't really know what I want to do next. Like, is anything exciting even happening in tech anymore? Isn't it all just about, trying to pump engagement on the various feeds that we've created? Maybe I don't want to do this. And when you're having that kind of an identity crisis in the Bay Area, you know that you are legally required to start a podcast, which I did. And as I was editing that podcast, I found Descript.
Mhm.
And the first time that I like deleted my filler words, deleted text, and it changed the video, I had this experience that I think a lot of us have had when we find that magical product where I was like, oh, this is why I got into product management. Like, this is why I got into tech. It was to create magical solutions like this. And not just like, the experience of using the product, but also that, great products, they don't just do a job for you, they kind of
Mhm.
transform the way that you see yourself. And for me, someone who's like much more comfortable in docs and decks to suddenly be like editing video media and publishing it, I was just like, oh my gosh, I'm a creative person. And having that transformative experience made me then knock on the door of Descript. They did not have a job description up. And I said, hey, are you hiring product people? I do product stuff. Like, do you want to hire
Love it.
me? Yeah. And
And
now,
now look at you.
now I'm the CEO. So this is why you've always got to shoot your shot.
100%. I think that applies to every aspect of life. And I love it. Very, very, very cool. I just think that that context is really helpful for the listeners to get a better understanding of kind of how you stumbled your way into Descript and also why, you found this kind of passion in creating content and amplifying it. So I love it. Super helpful. You talked a little bit about the pressure that so many people feel in the Bay Area and just more generally around creating content now and feeling like they have to be visible and have a voice. Talk to me about where that stems from, if you have any idea, and also just more generally, like as a modern day CEO, why you feel it's so important to be having your voice out there.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing that's happening in media, in every kind of media, right? Where 40 years ago, there were just a few distribution channels and there were a lot of gatekeepers to those distribution channels. And so if you wanted to kind of like create the narrative of what's happening in the world, you needed to have access to a gatekeeper, or you needed to ingratiate yourself into the people that own those distribution channels. Now, over the last 40 years, those distribution channels have multiplied and they've become a lot more democratized. And social media obviously has pushed that, as far as it can go. And so because of that, you see things like maybe in the old days, 20 years ago, you would try to craft the story about your product and try to own the narrative by hiring a PR firm and saying, like, can you go out and just try to get a lot of articles written about how this is happening right now and try to
Right.
get people to interview me and I'm going to give this quote about why my company is the solution to this problem that's been happening. And you try to like create these news stories in official outlets. And now anyone can create a news story and publish it. But
Right.
and so it's less about like, do you have access to the storytellers, and more like, do you have the juice, right? Do you have the charisma? Do you have what it takes to get out there and craft the story? Because if you're a founder, there's probably like this pitch that you've given to a million funders and that you try to give on your website that's like,
Yeah.
here is the problem space, here is the burning platform, here's why my product solves that, right?
Yeah.
And it's like
Right.
kind of amazing that you have that opportunity. Technically, you have the opportunity to go out and make that pitch to every person in the world right now. And the
Yeah.
question is like, do you have what it takes to break through? And do you have the stick to itiveness to like keep up the momentum and keep pushing that message?
Yeah. That's the hard part, I think, for a lot of people. Like a lot of people will get started. I mean, I'm guilty of this, right? Like I came out of the gates with this podcast. I dropped a bunch of episodes and then it's like life gets crazy, and you're just like, "Oh shoot, I have a lot that I want to put out there, but you also have a day job. For you, you're pushing product. There's lots of other things that are happening." So talk to me a little bit about how you continue to stay on it, push out content, and do it in an authentic way where it doesn't feel like you're just doing it for the sake of doing it.
What you need to do as a founder is sort of like think about yourself and think about your problem space and think about your product. And out of those two things, you need to figure out like, okay, what is my content? What is my channel? And what is my practice going to be? And like a helpful kind of 2x2, you can think about, sorry, I like live, breathe, and will die in a 2x2 one day. And like the 2x2 on my mind is like the content charisma matrix. So some people who
Perfect.
are listening are like, I have a lot of kind of expert content, right?
Yep.
That I can think about. Sometimes this is technical content. So you may be like working on a really interesting model. And what you have is like, technical content about how to do research in the field today, right? That's one kind of content. I'll say that like my best performing LinkedIn video was a
Mhm.
different kind of content expertise, and it was like
Yeah.
how to prepare for an interview. And it was like the first video that I did. But I just like had been doing hundreds of interviews and was like, okay, I just have like three things that I think everyone needs to make sure that they do if they're going to be interviewed by me. And I think just
Wow.
because everyone interviews for jobs and is hungry
Yeah.
for that content, having someone who is an expert, even though expert just means like I've done a lot of interviews, I'm not like a
Right.
professional interviewer. That's just part of my
Right.
job.
Totally.
But that was really valuable content. So think about like, am I someone who maybe I don't think my content is valuable, but actually I've had a 20-year career. Like there probably are a lot of people who think that I have valuable content. And what could that
Yes.
be? Right. And then I think like, then there's like charisma, which is just like, am I the kind of person that can be in front of a camera and like shine? Right. Do
Do you
people
have
need
Riz?
yeah, that can make up for a multitude of sins, Lauren. And But if you are like high content and high charisma, right? You can be a thought leader, someone who's going out and guesting on podcasts and creating like content where you're in the camera. That's great. And probably if you know that that's you already, you've already gotten started, right? Your life
Yeah.
is on the easier side. What do you do if you only have one of those things? And I think
Yeah.
like if you have a lot of charisma, but you're wondering about content, I actually think like podcasting perfect is the perfect thing for you to do. Because yes, Lauren, your job is to be professionally delightful and to just have people on the pod. I mean, you're
My
very
job is to have friends.
well, this in this one part of your job that is your second job. It's that you have this very hard other job that you do.
This is true.
Um,
But that job also involges having friends, really,
yeah,
at its core.
professional fun ever.
Yeah.
Um,
Best job
and
ever.
that's like yeah, so like you can be a podcaster if you're someone who has a lot of content and you're lacking in charisma, or
Yeah.
you're less comfortable in front of the camera. I think educational video is really where you want to play.
Mm.
That's where you see a lot of this on LinkedIn, and it gets great engagement. That's more like screen sharing to teach a concrete skill,
Yeah.
and people are very hungry for that. That gets great engagement, can turn into MQLs really easily. I think like Jacob Bank, who's like the Relay app CEO,
Mhm.
has a huge following on LinkedIn right now, and he has this like his product Relay is like an agent builder, and he just like demos for you like, hey, I made this Reddit agent, hey, I made this like LinkedIn to email agent, and he's really
Mhm.
just showing you his workflow, which is like screen sharing of him like using his product. And that's so great. Like what a fantastic kind of lead channel for him now to just teach people how to use this stuff. And a lot of us who are building AI products, a lot of the education you need to do and the content you need to create is like, hey, this is the use case. Some of you like, haven't even figured out that this exists yet. Like, let me explain what the problem is and why this solves it. And if you can like weekly have content where you're just sharing that educationally, that's huge.
So I think it's something we often consult our founders to do a lot of. And they often come back to us. And it's exactly what you were just speaking about, where it's like, where do I start? Maybe I don't want to be in front of the camera and there's been a million Substacks that have been done or whatever it might be. Or, how do I continue to think about things that come up? So I guess talk to me a little bit about how you find an authentic lane, um, and also how you continue to find time each week. Is it as simple as putting something on the calendar? Is it as simple as recording it all at once or writing it all at once and then kind of boosting it out into the ether when times make sense? I think these are like kind of the tactical questions that people struggle with, hence the lack of consistency and then hence why it falls off. And I think you do a really good job of keeping it up.
Yeah. So I think like there are a few different workflows that work. The great thing about podcasting is like, yes, I think like if you decide to go to the podcasting route, I suggest that you put a block Friday mornings or Friday afternoons and you just like
Yeah.
commit to it's basically a meeting.
Yeah.
You invite interesting people to that meeting, you do a little bit of prep in advance. You promise to like make everyone on your podcast look good so that no one's like expecting an oppo kind of thing. And you just like have a great conversation and get into your editing habit and try and like time box it. And you say like, I'm going to
Yeah.
spend an hour talking, an hour editing, and then I'm going to publish the podcast and do like 10 clips that I'll post on
Mhm.
social. What's great about podcasting and clips is like those clips are things that you can share, for 2 weeks. And if you want to do like a bi-weekly podcast or even a monthly, it's like, great. Those clips can be the thing that you're sharing in between each
That's
podcast
what I
that
do.
yeah, exactly. So that's like one workflow.
Mhm.
Another workflow I see if you're not doing the podcasting route that like I do sometimes is, I'm in a studio right now. I haven't done like my hair and stuff like that. But sometimes what I'll do is I'll get in the studio because like there's good lighting and a good camera here. And I'll just like I think like either you're kind of like an improvisational person or you're a scripted person. I'm often
Yes.
improvisational. And so I will like, this is actually a fun hack. You can like use ChatGPT voice mode and ask it to interview you on a topic. And it kind of plays the interviewer kind of
No
character.
way.
Yeah. And you just talk to it about like I can say like, hey, can you ask me a bunch of questions about how to build great product or how to build a really strong product team.
Mm.
And it'll just toss a bunch of questions my way and I just answer them authentically. And then I can go through and edit it and like find the clips, right? And it's like, oh,
Wow.
there's a clip, there's a clip. Oh, I sounded like an idiot there. Let's just delete that and never speak of it again. And there's a clip. Um, and so that's a really great workflow if you just want to like, okay, I'm going to sit here for 30 minutes. I'm going to talk to my computer and just kind of like riff, right? And a lot of
Yeah.
us are good at riffing.
And no pressure. And yeah, I think that also helps with like what different ideas can I speak to? And also I think naturally when you're doing your job, whatever it is, all day, every single day, you start to forget that you've got a lot of knowledge and you know what you're doing, and there's a lot that people can learn from whatever your craft is. And so, yeah, sometimes it's just taking a second to have someone else ask you questions and then you realize, oh, I actually do have a system to that. Or, oh, I actually do have pretty strong opinions on some of
Yeah.
this stuff, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's a great hack. I'm for sure going to use it and I'll tag you every time. Cite my
I think,
sources.
yeah. And I think like eventually where you'll get to, and probably as a founder, you might already be there, but it's like, okay, you can make kind of content about whatever you care about. And sometimes I can't help that. I'll just make content about whatever's on my mind. But ideally, what you're doing is like when you go into and you talk to funders or you go and you talk to like potential people that you've been trying to hire, you probably know the ways that they misunderstand your space or the ways where like they think one thing is true about your space or about kind of like the way that things are going but you think another thing is true, and out of this you kind of like create your manifesto, like
Yep.
this is what I think the space looks like, this is what I think the problems are, and this is why I think my product is an amazing kind of solution, and this is why I think you should work for me, or this is why I think you should fund me, or this is why you know I'm really excited to build this as our next roadmap, right?
Mhm.
And then if you start there with that like core set of beliefs, that helps you then understand like, okay, this is my press story, right? This is what I would brief my PR person with. Like, I want to make this the story that I read and in the Times or whatever. But instead of that, it's going to be like, great, this is my content lane. Like the four like sub hypotheses of the things that I believe about this space right now are: one, people need to make more video than ever. Great. Like that's a content lane that someone in Descript or like something should be out there saying, because
Right.
I think it's true and because like we need to start having that conversation. So I'd say like that's like you can kind of start to think about like what are the sub bullets of the story that I want out in the world and how can I create a content lane around those sub bullets.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. My CEO is incredibly high on, we have to be pushing content, we have to be owning distribution lanes. We are only 8 people at a VC firm that I think the general public thinks is at least 50 people, simply because of how much content we put out, but it's all meaningful, it's all authentic, and it's all very specific to that individual and what makes sense for them. And it really was something that I think coming into Decibel for me was, thinking about what are the things that I'm passionate about? Where do I find comfort and a natural part of my personality that I think will allow me to excel here? And then what are the types of things that I actually think people care about?
Yeah.
Um, and it's a hard thing to find, but I think once you figure out, oh, these are easy things for me to be able to create, they're repeatable, and I do think people care, then it's
Yeah.
like you're kind of set. One of our investment partners started off by creating a Substack where she was really trying to focus on, what people wanted to hear, and create things that she felt were kind of right down the center of the fairway. Was using ChatGPT a lot, and ultimately was not getting much of a response.
Yeah.
And our CEO said, throw it all out the window
Yeah.
and start talking like you talk to us. Like
Yes.
that's what people want to hear, right?
Yes. Yes.
So she took that to a completely different extreme. And I mean, she'll reference like a quote from someone and have it highlighted with a star and it's very glamorous and extra and fun and engaging, and there's
Yeah.
memes in it, and it breaks down so much of the content that people are already seeing all day long into something that's really fun, and the way we communicate about it on the back end in a lighthearted way. And
Yeah.
it is blown up. Like, people are loving it because she's being authentic to her. She's thrown what she thought she was supposed to do out the window and just taken on this lane that she feels is how she communicates to her husband about it, or her friends, right? So it's fun.
That's right. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, totally. I think that there is going to be this deluge of AI slop or people who think like, "Oh, I've solved it. I can finally be a creator because I can just have AI generate all of the content and I'll
Right.
just like, say that content." And I'll say like, I am not bullish on that succeeding. Now, what I'm not saying is like that I'm not bullish on AI assisted workflows. Hell yes, AI assisted
Yeah.
workflows are an unlock, but there are things you can replace with AI. And I think like someone showed me yesterday like an AI influencer that they're making where they've clearly lovingly crafted every detail of this AI
Yeah.
influencer's personality such that
Oh,
they're
that's really
almost
cool.
real. And I'm like, that's cool. That's like a real creation, like, that you're making. So, but it's like that's high effort AI,
Right.
where someone's
Right.
really thought about it. And then I think there's just like when you are doing like yeah, I'm trying to appeal to everyone. I'm not going to say anything controversial and I'm just going to have AI like do all of the writing. It's like that's a great way to be done, but it's not a great way to build passionate kind of like followers who go out and retweet you and say like you've got to read this
Right.
person's perspective.
Yeah, it's more of checking a box, doing it to do it, rather than putting something out there that actually comes with thought and empath and an understanding for what people actually want to read or see, right? So
Yeah.
I'm right there with you, but I think it's an interesting process that we've all had to go through. And maybe I'll share this in the Substack too. But basically, we all created a Venn diagram before we joined Decibel, and it's like the exact pillars I will have to go back and reference, but it comes back to, who you are as a person, your specific passions, and then like the craft that you want to continue to master or teach. And where they all
Mm.
intersect is kind of where your lane is, essentially. And so I think it's an interesting thing for people to take a look at and be introspective about before. I mean, I initially started I was going to just create a Substack and have it be kind of like my own monologue on different things that were happening. And I just realized that's just not who I am. I like
Yeah.
to yap.
Yeah.
I like to talk
Totally.
and I like to chat through topics. And, I think writing's fun, but not not to the extent where there's other people that I think are better suited to put out great writing content. And I think for me, I really just like engaging with human beings. So why was I trying to do anything other than that? So yeah, I just think it takes a bit and a couple course corrections, and then you kind of figure out, oh, this is fun and this works for me.
Yeah, there are kind of two parts in there that are really important. And the first part is like I think that we always need to ask when we're creating content, like, who is this for? And like, what is the value to that person? And I think like one of the ways that I see people go wrong is when they start to make content, they really know what's in it for them. They're like, I want people to know my brand name. I want people to buy my product. But they aren't really asking, like, what's in it for the person that's listening to this for 40 minutes or whatever. And so, like, one of the things that I sometimes have to kind of coach people to do is like, you don't need to mention the name of our product, Descript, over and over again. Like, you
This
need to
isn't an
create
ad.
content. You need to create content that's helpful, no matter what tool people are using to like to make video, for example. And so it can't just be like, here's why we're better than all of our competitors, right? It has to like
Yeah.
try to make content that's authentically useful to an audience, not just an advertisement. And that's the stuff that people will watch. The other thing that you said that I think is so important is like you're going to get it wrong and you're going to have to like you're talking about like the other person at your work, you're talking about yourself, like the first
Yeah.
thing that you think is your thing and how you're going to like
It's
crack
probably
in
not.
is like definitely going to be wrong. So before you buy that $3,000 camera, or like before you get that like Shure microphone, or like before you whatever, tell everyone like I have a Substack and
Doing
thou
it.
shalt like maybe just like try it out for 6 weeks and see if
Yeah.
it's feeling like this is something that I can do. Meanwhile, you
Yeah.
can start to like build up. Like if you're doing a podcast, maybe you want to film like the first three or four and have them in the can and feel like I
Yeah.
like this before you like publish them and promote them and stuff like that. Otherwise, when you quit a couple weeks later, you're going to be a little sheepish.
Yeah, and you get some inbound when they haven't heard from you in a little bit. They're
Is
like,
that
"Where you
familiar to
been?
you, Lauren?
You still doing it?" Yeah. I'm like, "Yes, yes. I have 6 weddings in a row. Yes, I'm doing
Oh
it."
my gosh, glamorous life.
Okay, cool. I think that's all super, super helpful. Talk to me a little bit about where you found success and specifically like I think a lot of people look for some moment where something goes viral or they feel like they get a return on the investment. Do you feel like there's more of an importance on like the viral thing or more of an importance on just continuing to do it and be real in you?
This is a great question. I think that like going viral is not important, especially, I mean, like, so maybe if you have a product where, you're you're just starting out and it's like a consumer product, you like
Yeah.
really need to go viral or something. But a lot of us are, have like some kind of an enterprise or like B2B component to the work that we're doing, and like in that world going viral is not important. And that's also like,
Yeah.
I said you need to pick your channel. Like think about the channel that you actually need to succeed on, because I think a lot of us watching the AI conversation think like, oh, if it's not like on Twitter, it's not like,
Yeah.
I'm not part of the AI conversation. But it's like it takes a very specific kind of voice to like break through on Twitter. But I'm telling you, like the people that are buying your product are maybe not on Twitter, like they're
Yeah.
maybe on LinkedIn or on like the internet searching for things and being referred to a YouTube video. And so like I think it's much more important to like think strategically about your channel and then just like put it like be consistent in your content creation. And I guarantee everyone, if you're like, yeah, but how will I know about the ROI? Like here's a guarantee I give everyone. If you start making video content and you keep it up for like, let's say 4 months, I usually say 6, but like really, I think like 4 months where you put out a
Yeah.
video at least once a week for 4 months. If you use Descript to do it, and in 4 months, you're like, this has not been positive ROI for me, I will refund 100% of your
Mm.
subscription. Like that's how confident I am that like you will have the leading indicators in just a few months that this
Mm.
is helping you get in front of the eyeballs of people who matter. Like
Yeah.
maybe not going viral, but like I'll tell you, after I started doing a couple of these videos, the first few videos, I think like I got a lot of engagement from people. Like I said, they were interview videos. That actually was super helpful for recruiting. One
Yeah.
of my like, this is my job recommendation. I wrote kind of like an interesting job recommendation, then did a couple of videos about interviewing. And
Yeah.
like we got a lot of really qualified candidates applying. So that was really helpful there. That's what I was trying to
Amazing.
make happen at that point. But like since I've sort of shifted into this role and have been doing more talking about like the space in general, I have gotten like inbounds for sales, and I have gotten, people just telling me like, "Hey, I've seen your videos, like you're at Descript, right?" And like that's how they discovered that we're in the set of people that they might want to be considering. So
Yeah.
to me, I think like it was very obvious very early that like I'm getting in front of people in a way that I would never have access to them, trying to find their email or something like that. And I'm
Yeah.
pretty confident that I'm not extraordinary at this. Like I'm pretty confident that would be most people's experience.
I disagree, but yes. So one thing you talked to a little bit was distribution lanes, and
Mhm.
I want to chat about that a little bit because I think it's important. This podcast in particular, we have it out on Substack, Apple, Spotify, YouTube, and I think that helps because there's and then LinkedIn of course, but there's moments where one catches fire and the other doesn't, and it's continuing to have visibility amongst lots of different channels. Can you talk about that a little bit, and why you feel there's an importance to putting content out there across a multitude of different distribution lanes?
Yeah, I think that like different distribution channels hit different people. So typically
Yeah.
like what I would advise is so YouTube, for example, and things like Spotify, like these are really good for long form content where
Yeah.
the transcript is like not only available to people but to machines that crawl the internet and try to
Mhm.
find good content to refer to people. And a lot of it is like long lived. So some of our most popular YouTube videos didn't get a lot of views and likes in like the first few weeks that we kind of published them. But now that
Mm.
they've been on YouTube for years, like cumulatively, they're a pretty powerful referral channel. And it's the same with
Cool.
like if you're a marketer, you know that like this is how blog articles work, where it's like, you publish a blog article and it can refer traffic to your website for years. If
Yeah.
it's a well written article that is useful to people, that tends to show up when people ask a question like, how do I
Mhm.
pick out a nice camera? And it's like
Mhm.
Descript, that's
Mhm.
one where it's like, there's like, what camera should I be using? And we like wrote an article a couple of years ago that like people just find because it's
Great.
a very good article about what camera you should start using when you're getting into this stuff. And
Mhm.
that's an example of just generally helpful content. So, we kind of know this from the SEO game, but like video is a really important part of SEO and AEO too. And it's also just like a really important part of how humans like access information for months and years after you publish it.
Yeah.
And then I think like social is often the funnel into YouTube or to your longer form
Mhm.
stuff. And so,
Right.
like, that's why clipping is so important. And that stuff is very ephemeral. Anyone who clicks on it is going to click on it within like just a few hours of you posting it, usually, like,
Yeah.
if it's
Yeah.
going to be good or not. And so that's why, like, with social, you just want to have a ton of at bats and you want to try it across a bunch of different channels and just like try to get people to go from your short form stuff not to your website, not to a sale page, like especially if like I mean unless you're in e-commerce, like really like
Yeah.
the you want to go from social to long form, from long form, whether it's like long form like reading or long form video or audio, to like just being in the consideration set. And then it
Mhm.
takes time for that to like, if I'm listening to Decibel, I may listen to one of your podcasts and then
Yeah.
like it's only relevant that I know who you are 18 months later. But I'm
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
hey,
Yeah.
actually, I think Lauren like is just like someone in this space who knows so much about this. Like I'm gonna refer her to someone because I know
Mm.
this. Like that's kind of the game you're playing. So if you're focused too much on going viral, you're really thinking short term instead of thinking about like the long term fruit that's born from this. And then
Yeah.
being in multiple distribution channels helps you have that full funnel experience from like tiny droplet of rain in TikTok to like the expanding concentric circles of forming a relationship that creates.
Yeah. I mean, I completely agree. And then I think so often people feel like if they put content out there that doesn't have a million views or whatever it might be, that they failed, right? And that's just not the case. I have been putting out this content now for over a year, and it'll be as simple as, one or two new founders reaching out and saying that they found it helpful, and then that being a potential investment deal, or, something that we take a deeper look at. And that in itself makes it worth it. And also, God, I learned so much from these conversations. So if selfishly I'm learning, someone else has to be, right? But I think it's just, it's as simple as that. But I think so often people are measuring it based on the amount of clicks, or and then feel the need to try and do something different or have a hot take, and sometimes it doesn't have to be that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Any other just pieces of advice, words of wisdom for people to just get started on doing this?
I'm obsessed with Bay Area billboards. I don't know if
Yeah.
you like them too, but they're just like they're so funny to me. I wish honestly like I kind of wish I would like put together a TikTok channel of just me reviewing Bay Area billboards. But in any case, they're always just like so incredible. They're just like what even like I love
The
to drive my
best.
parents home from the airport and just be like, guess what that company does? Guess
Right.
what that company does? So anyways,
Wait,
but
did you see this one woman? Did you see that she put up a billboard that's like marry Lisa with her contact information. And it's literally, she just is asking someone to marry her. And it's all an advertisement around why she's great. And so it's like
That's
you're driving from the airport and it's like Vanta and EDB and all these, like, you've got all of these AI agents. And then it's like, marry Lisa.
Lisa, I hope it worked out for you, girl.
It's
Well, I
incredible.
went by one. I remember like Intercom had one last
Yeah.
year, and it was like supposedly written by the Intercom CEO. And it was just like, I just need you to know three things. Like, I need people driving by to know like three things. One,
Yeah.
we have the best like chat assistant. Two, it's powered by AI. I forget what the three things were, but you could
Yeah.
tell, I mean, unless that was totally artificial, my sense was that like the Intercom CEO is marching around and he's like one of my mentors told me the more senior you get, the more your job is to just go into different rooms and say the
Yeah.
same three things over and over again, right? And
Honestly,
so,
yes.
so my guess is like, if you're a founder, you're a CEO, you're listening to this, what are those three things? The three things that you would put on the Intercom billboard of like, just put these things on the billboard.
Yeah.
And then like, there you go. That is, make a video that is just you saying those three things. Make it at
Yeah.
90 seconds long,
Yeah.
or make it
Yeah.
4 minutes and use Descript to cut it down to 90 seconds. Put it on LinkedIn and see what happens. I think that is your assignment. And if no one engages, that's fine. Don't delete it, right? Some people tell me like, well, I did all of this and I posted it and no one liked it, so I deleted it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, play the long game.
And even if people aren't liking it, like I just saw the other day on my own Instagram, now they can show who's viewed your profile or like the number of people that have viewed your profile. It was somewhat terrifying. It was over 100,000 people had
Yes,
viewed my profile, but I'm definitely not getting that many likes or comments on things. So people are still seeing your content when you put it out into the ether, right?
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I promise to retweet you, let me
Thank
know.
you.
Give me a
Thank
little DM
you.
and I'll be like, retweet
Yeah.
this and stuff like that.
God bless you. What are the three things that you have been putting out over and over and over into the world as a CEO?
Um, Great question. I think that they are, um, video is eating the world, right? Like,
Yeah.
we all like, video is the dominant form of communication, and all of
Mhm.
us, CEOs, teams, companies, need to be creating a lot more video if we want to be part of the story of what's
Yeah.
happening in the world. The second thing is that I think that AI, that video generation is extremely important and is going to change the way that video is created, but don't sleep on the orchestration and application layers, right?
Mm.
I don't think that video generation is going to replace recorded media. I think instead we need apps where we can put all of these different models together with recorded media and with other kind of traditional forms of editing media to create a truly horizontal video solution that can be used by everyone on your team, because it is both easy and because it covers every single use case, and that's what we aspire to be.
Yeah.
So I'd say that's my billboard. Now, if we could just
I love
condense
it.
that down to about 3 words.
I mean, that's where ChatGPT comes in.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, Laura, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show. I can't thank you enough. I think this was super insightful for our listeners, for founders getting started on this. So appreciate you taking the time to talk through content. I know it's going to be incredibly valuable to them.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for having me. It's always a pleasure to chat.
So much fun. And thank you all for listening to Never Too Early. More to come soon.